It's done. I held up my end, now hold up yours.
I'm not going back.
I've been in radio communicado with someone outside our orbit. Some of you might claim that I'm foolish. After everything we just lost, I'm willing to be the fool.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, it's your homie Futuristic Mike, and I'm back with another Walking Dead video if you're new. Make sure y'all leave your theories, comments, everything down below in the comment section. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, if you love The Walking Dead, hit the like on this video. If you're new to my channel and this is the first time you're finding me, subscribe, turn on those post notifications so you can always see when I'm dropping some content so you never miss any Walking Dead news. Now this is going to be my Walking Dead review for Season 10, Episode 14 of The Walking Dead, titled Look at the Flowers. And last week's episode was solid. I really enjoyed it. It didn't continue from the Whisperer War, the battle at Hilltop and all that when Negan killed Alpha. But it did give us that standalone Michonne episode, and it was a very much needed episode. Us as the fans, we all needed to see how Michonne's story was going to play out because we knew her last episode was coming up, and I really don't buy it at all that this is her last episode. I don't believe it's her last episode ever. I mean, it's her last episode for now, but I just don't think it's going to be her last episode ever on The Walking Dead because we know she's going to be appearing in The Walking Dead movies with Rick Grimes. Andrew Lincoln is going to be in The Walking Dead movies, and that's been obvious for quite a while now, and we know Michonne is going to find him at some point. And I also think before the series comes to a complete end, like before The Walking Dead ends, period, like maybe Season 12, Season 13, I don't know when it's going to end. I know Michonne will probably make another appearance on The Walking Dead before the show ends completely. I also think Rick might return to the show too. The entire family might reunite, you know, Rick might come back with Michonne, and they might come together with Judith and RJ, and they might all become a happy family. I don't know. It could end in tragedy. It could end with them all dying. We just don't know. But I really can't wait to see how it all plays out. But that's what last week's episode was Michonne's standalone episode. If you guys haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that. And without further ado, I'm going to get into episode 14. This is my review for the episode. Now, the episode starts off with Carol. She walks into the cell where Negan is, and she's talking to him. And, you know, she's getting ready to let him out because we already know at this point that she let him out because we seen her meet up with Negan at the end of episode 12, and she said, it took you long enough. So we know that it was her that let Negan out. A lot of people were thinking it was Daryl for a while, and I actually was too, but it ended up being Carol. She let Negan out, and for good reason too, because Alpha destroyed her family. She lost Ezekiel, and she lost Henry. Alpha killed Henry, and Carol just wanted her revenge, and for some reason she couldn't do it herself because every time she got close to Alpha, either her group would talk her out of it or she just couldn't do anything about it. So she finally decided to let Negan take care of it. She told Negan that if he ended up taking care of Alpha and he brought her Alpha's head, then she would talk to the group about letting him out of the cell and giving him freedom in Alexandria. And of course Negan wants that, you know. He spent like 6-7 years in a cell, and he's getting tired of sitting in that cell. He's lost everything sitting in there, and he lost a piece of himself. So he just wants that little bit of freedom. And, you know, if killing Alpha gets him that, then of course he's going to do that. Now next it shows Carol talking to Negan. That first scene was just a flashback scene so we could see how it went down. But this scene is after the fact, after they kill Alpha, or after Negan kills Alpha. And they're talking about their deal. Carol put Alpha's head on a pike, just like she did Henry and the rest of the people she killed. She wants to pretty much return the favor and put her head on a pike now. But she's talking to Negan, and Negan's like, you need to fulfill your end of the deal. I fulfilled mine. And she's like, I'm not going back to Alexandria right now. Eventually I will, but right now I'm not. Negan said that killing Alpha had to take time. Shit like that takes time. And she threw that right back in Negan's face and said she has to heal, she has to clear her head, and she's not going back to Alexandria because shit like that takes time. So she pretty much used his own line against him and threw that back in his face. And, you know, Negan's upset, and I wish she wouldn't have did that to Negan. Yes, Negan has done a lot of stuff in the past. He's destroyed the group quite a bit. He killed Glenn, Abraham. We all know this by now. But you know, I kind of feel bad for Negan because he's been rotting in a cell for 6-7 years. He just wants that freedom. And, you know, I think Negan can be redeemed at this point. A lot of people say that he can't be redeemed, but, you know, I think he can be. I feel like the story was told in Negan's perspective. Like, if we would have got a Negan story instead of a Rick Grimes story, then we would actually understand Negan a lot better. You know, he has a reason for the stuff he does, and he was just doing everything he could to survive. He had a code, and that's the way he did things. But, you know, some people still see him as a villain. Some people are starting to like him, and I'm actually one of those people. I'm starting to like Negan. Now, we get to a scene where Eugene is telling everyone about Stephanie. There's a group full of people. I think they're in a house or something like that. And Ezekiel's pretty much telling Eugene to tell everyone what he's been doing for the past couple months, and everyone wants to hear him out. So he tells the group that he's been living at Hilltop for the past couple months. He was up in that little room, like in the attic, and he was talking to Stephanie. He pretty much tells them that he got lonely over time, and he ended up talking to her on this radio, and they became quite close. So he's telling the group that there's a chance that there's another community out there. And, you know, they don't really trust it. And at this point, they really have no reason to trust anybody, so I don't blame them. But Eugene is telling them to give it a chance, and he's telling them to let him be the fool and take the risk and take the chance. So he says he's going to go and find out what this is all about. And then Yumiko and Ezekiel offer to go with him. So then it shows Ezekiel outside talking to Jerry. And this was an emotional scene because these two have always been close since King Ezekiel first came on the show. Him and Jerry have always been close. You know, Ezekiel was the king. He had his tiger. He was the shit. And Jerry was always there next to him. If somebody tried to disrespect Ezekiel, Jerry would be like, don't talk to the king like that. And he always had Ezekiel's back. And like I said, this was an emotional scene because they were talking. And to be honest, this might be the last time Jerry sees Ezekiel, because I just don't know if Ezekiel's going to be surviving for the entire season. But this scene was emotional because Jerry actually called the king just Ezekiel this time. He didn't call him the king or none of that. And the reason why he did that is because Ezekiel told him in the past that I'm no one's king. This is just an act, and, you know, I'm just leading the group. That's why they call me king. But he doesn't want to be called king anymore. So Jerry actually called him by his name, and they hugged. And like I said, this was an emotional scene. I really felt for them, and I just hope they do see each other again in the future. They all end up leaving, and I'm guessing this is for the Commonwealth. I don't really know a whole lot about it. I've read a little bit of the comics, but I haven't read all of them. But just based off conversations I had with certain people, they said the Commonwealth is coming up, so we're going to see what that's all about. Now, this part right here is absolutely crazy. This is insane. I mean, Beta comes walking up in that field where Alpha's head is hanging on that pike, and Beta absolutely loses his shit. You know, he starts freaking out, and he doesn't know what to do because he's the Beta, he's not the Alpha, and he lost his Alpha, so he's going crazy. He is really going crazy. He goes as far as telling a Whisperer to take his mask off for disrespecting Alpha, and he forces him to get bit. He holds his head close to Alpha, and he's saying to him, he's like, can you hear her? And he's not responding, he's just screaming, and he's like, can you hear her now? And he literally forces this man to get bit. Alpha bites his ear and then also bites his face, and you already know he's going to be turning into a walker. And the other Whisperer that was there with Beta, this dude said, you know what? I'm not having this happen to me. He turned around and started dipping. He started running in the other direction, and I don't even blame his ass because I wouldn't be sticking around with Beta's crazy ass either. This dude is an absolute fool. This dude is insane. He doesn't care, man. He does not care about anyone. He'll kill anybody. Now, Negan goes to the cabin where he put Lydia at because he was just trying to keep Lydia safe from Alpha. And Daryl is inside where Lydia was because Lydia's gone. And he pins Negan against the wall with his crossbow. And he's like, where the hell is Alpha? And then Negan's just telling him pretty much that I killed Alpha. Daryl doesn't believe him, but he's telling him what it is. And then he's like, why don't you ask your girlfriend why she let me out then? So Daryl's thinking about it, and he's thinking that maybe Negan is telling the truth, but he wants some proof. Negan pulls Alpha's mask out of his pocket, but that's not enough. Daryl wants to see an actual head. So Negan is going to take Daryl to the head on the pike. But of course, Beta already took it off the pike, so it's not going to be there. So Daryl's going to think he's bullshitting. Now it shows Carol walking and she sees Alpha and she says that she's always watching. Alpha's just there. Carol's hallucinating. We've seen Carol hallucinate in the past at the beginning of season 10. Carol was losing her mind after she lost Henry, and now she's losing her mind again. And I'm not sure why. She finally got closure. She finally got her revenge and got Alpha killed, but she's still hallucinating, and Alpha's haunting her ass. Now, Beta is walking with the guy that got bit, and he stabs the hell out of him in the chest. They go into town, and there's a whole bunch of zombies, and Beta just stabs the hell out of this dude. Then Beta ends up going inside this abandoned building, and he finds a record of his because apparently he was an old country singer or something like that before the apocalypse. If you guys didn't know about Beta's backstory, that's what it is. He was a country singer before all this started happening. And later on, he literally plays one of his records, and he attracts all the zombies while he's playing one of his own songs, pretty much to build his horde, so he can get a whole bunch of people on his side. Well, not people, but walkers. And that's pretty much how he builds his army. That's insane that that's all he has to do is play one of his own songs to attract the herd, and they come his way, and that's how he builds his army to try and fight our group. The people at Alexandria, the people that were at Hilltop and everything, that's all he has to do with his mask on is attract other zombies, and he literally has 1,000 zombies on his side. He doesn't even have to do anything but walk in the middle of the herd, and because of that, he's a threat. Now, Carol sees Alpha again, and this time, Alpha was talking to her, talking her shit, and then out of nowhere, Carol falls through like a building or something, and all this wood and stuff falls on top of her, and there's a zombie coming, and at first, I thought Carol was done, but she has signed her contract just like Norman Reedus on the show, so I don't think she's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, but it's just that scene at that moment, you really thought Carol was done. The zombie was coming at her, and then she ends up freeing herself at the last minute, and she attacks the zombie, or the walker, whatever you want to say, and she kills it. Now it shows a little bit of Eugene, Yumiko, and Ezekiel riding horses as they're heading to this new community. And they ride past a couple walkers in like a cage, and they're wondering who the hell put these walkers in these cages. Not too long after this, Ezekiel has to fight a few walkers, and he ends up fighting them, and he starts coughing while he's fighting these walkers. And I really thought Ezekiel was done at this part. I really thought he was done. This episode was called Look at the Flowers, and I thought that's why it was called Look at the Flowers, because we were gonna lose somebody really important. But it didn't happen in this episode. I was surprised. But Ezekiel's coughing while he's fighting these walkers, and he starts falling down. I thought he was gonna get bit, but he managed to actually stab the walker and make it out of there. Now, a little bit after this, Ezekiel's horse ends up getting sick, and he feels real bad for the horse because, that's a living creature. He doesn't want this horse's life to end like this. He has to actually stab the horse in the head, and that's a really emotional moment because there's not a whole lot of horses left in the apocalypse, and just the fact that becomes one of your friends. When you have a horse and you're riding it through the city or the streets or whatever, that actually becomes a friend of yours because you don't have too many people you're close to in the apocalypse. And he actually had to put this horse down. So that was an emotional moment for the audience and also Ezekiel. Now, Daryl had tied Negan's hands behind his back while he was walking him through the field to bring him up to the pike where Alpha's head was supposedly supposed to be. Now, Daryl didn't see Alpha's head there, so we thought Negan was lying. He thought he was bullshit, and of course, Daryl has never liked Negan. I mean, just think about it like this. Negan has actually locked Daryl up in a cell. If you guys remember season 6, that episode titled The Cell, Negan put him in a cell, and Dwight was messing with Daryl. That entire episode, I felt bad for Daryl. So Daryl has never liked Negan at all. And on top of that, Negan killed Glenn and Abraham, and Daryl has always been pissed off about that, and he always wanted his revenge on Negan. Now, at this part, there's a few whisperers that come up to Daryl and Negan, and they're like, Alpha's dead because of you, and now you're the new Alpha. So Negan starts giving his little speech. You know how Negan does, man. He puts a little comedy into it, and he's like, why are you holding a badass shotgun? Somebody who is not the Alpha, why are you holding the badass shotgun? So this whisperer gives Negan the shotgun, and then he starts giving his little speech, making these whisperers think that Negan's gonna kill Daryl, and then he ends up just killing all the whisperers. And then it's funny because Daryl's like, untie me, asshole. I mean that was really funny, man. They put a lot of comedy into this episode with Negan. I really enjoy that part about Negan's story. He always gives you a good laugh on the show. I just can't deal with him sometimes. Now, after this, it actually shows Daryl and Negan sitting in the middle of the forest, and they're actually talking. They're actually having a conversation, and Negan's telling Daryl that when he was locked up for all those years, he lost a part of himself, and he was literally losing his mind in the cell, and he said he knew Alpha had to go because you just don't kill people who don't deserve it, and you most definitely don't kill kids. So I think Negan's starting to learn that there's a limit to all this, that you don't kill unless absolutely necessary. So Negan probably regrets killing Glenn and Abraham. I don't know if he regrets killing everyone that he did, but he's starting to become a real better person. And it was funny because Daryl was like, is this supposed to make me like you? And they had a few laughs at this part, and it was just crazy because we've never seen this type of vibe from Negan and Daryl before. And it was something different, and I really enjoyed that. I really appreciate what the writers tried to do in this scene. Now we see Eugene, Yumiko, and Eugene riding through this new city that they never seen. And they run into this woman with a pink jacket, and that's the princess from the comics. And I guess this is going to be her introduction. We're going to see her a lot in the next episode, apparently based off the trailer and stuff like that. So I can't wait to see what her character is going to be about. I remember that actress from a couple shows. She was in Lethal Weapon and a couple other shows. So as far as I know, she can act really good. And I'm just really looking forward to see what her character brings to the show. I never really cared for her in the comics like that. Like I said, I didn't read the entire comics. I kind of read a lot of the earlier on stuff from the comics. And then later on, I kind of read through them really fast because I never owned all the comics. But I do know that she's in the comics, and it's going to be interesting to see what her character brings to the show. Now, the episode ends with Beta realizing what Alpha was trying to do, I guess. He said pretty much to Alpha's head that I see now, whatever that means, and then he stabs her head, and that's the end of Alpha. Now he doesn't even have Alpha's zombified head. So we're going to see where it goes from here. He's going to take his herd, and he's probably going to try to attack the people from Alexandria or something like that. I'm just waiting to see what's going to be happening in the next episode. This show keeps getting better and better. You know, a lot of people said The Walking Dead fell off. I definitely disagree on that. The Walking Dead is definitely in my top 5 favorite shows of all time. I love this show, and, you know, I'm just excited for the future of this show. If I would have to give this episode a rating, I'm going to rate it 9.2 out of 10. You know, you can never rate an episode 10 out of 10 because there's no episode that's perfect. Every episode has its flaws, but this episode was definitely very good, and I'm going to give it a 9.2. It was my second favorite episode of the season so far. I really enjoyed it. It was a solid episode. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think of episode 14 titled Look at the Flowers. Comment your theories, predictions, and everything else for the next episode. I'll be continuing to bring you guys more Walking Dead content in the future. If you guys want to donate to the channel to help support the channel, I got links in the description to do so. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and smash the notification bell so you can never miss a video. I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. It's your boy Futuristic Mike, and I'll talk to you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.